this process now. So I'd like to welcome you to our the UCT's fourth annual Student Entrepreneurship Week program. And we're very excited to have a great lineup of entrepreneurs, all of whom are UCT students past and present. These young individuals have walked the entrepreneurship path and they can't wait to share the pearls of wisdom with you. Our host today is Giancarlo, a second degree UCT student currently studying his Bachelor of Law after completing a degree in Social Science. Thank you, Giancarlo, for once again hosting our panel. Our co-host is Alison Evans, who has become synonymous to the InterVarsity program and has been paramount in preparing our student entrepreneurs in the 2019 InterVarsity, where UCT walked away with 3 of the 5 prizes, including Entrepreneurial University and overall winner Student Entrepreneur. This year, we have 3 student entrepreneurs in the national finals. I now hand you over to Giancarlo as he introduces our panel. Thank you, Giancarlo.
Unmuting. There you go. Thank you so much, Nadia. I just want to confirm from your side, am I audible?
Yes. Yes, you are. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Hello and welcome, everybody. It's great to see everybody's lovely faces that I haven't seen in such a long time. Hi, Nadia. Hi, Alison. I'm going to get to everybody quite soon, but I just want to say good day to everybody at home. Happy Monday, and thank you all for allowing us as the EDHE family to infiltrate your space and give you some inspiration. I hope everybody is well. A warm welcome to Student Entrepreneurship Week, and what better way to start it off than with a frank discussion with those who have walked the path. My name is Tiamo Munyai, and I will be your facilitator of the discussion today, right? I would like to begin our session in an African manner, and that is through Thanksgiving, that is through showing gratitude, right? I would like to begin by thanking everybody at EDHE and UCT Careers for giving us this wonderful opportunity. Again, I would like to thank everybody at home for tuning in. And last, but definitely not least, I would like to thank our panelists. Panelists, hello, how are you? Give me a wave. Hey, okay, I see Vere, okay, I'm seeing everybody. Gokul, a wave, can we see you? Okay, great, fantastic. I would like to begin our session with, let's jump right into it, right? I'm very familiar with everybody. I'm familiar with most of our panelists for today, but I would like you panelists to make yourself familiar with everybody at home. I would like to allow everybody at home to be familiar with you. So I would like quickly and short brief for you to introduce yourselves, your name and surname, what is your innovation, and given everything that is happening, how are you feeling? Personally, how are you feeling? We can start with Vere, and then we can go to Vuako, and we'll go to Lungile, and then Gokul, and then Giancarlo. Is that great?
Okay. That sounds good.
Vere, let's go.
Okay, awesome. So, hi everyone. I'm incredibly excited to be here. It's an absolute honor and a privilege to be called back to UCT. So, I always love speaking at my alma mater. I am Vere Shaba. I graduated in 2012. So, I graduated in 2012 with a Bachelor of Science in Engineering, in Mechanical Engineering. I have no idea sometimes how I graduated, but I did. And I haven't graduated. Sometimes I also look back and I have no idea how I became an entrepreneur, but I did. And so in 2016, I started my business called Green Design. And what we specifically look at is making sure that buildings are able to mitigate climate change, because every single decision that we make has an impact on climate change, and Africa is the most vulnerable continent. So we do whatever it takes to help buildings to decrease on energy, water, and waste. Ever since then, I've been selected as one of Mount Guardian's 200 Young South Africans in Environment, one of the Inspiring 50 Women in STEM. And in 2018, I was selected as one of Forbes Africa's 30 Under 30 in Business, where I featured on the cover of Forbes magazine and represented UCT in that perspective. And I really am just passionate about entrepreneurship. I'm passionate about people finding what they are passionate about, finding a business model and making money off it. So really looking at profit for purpose. So that's what we focus on within Green Buildings.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Vuako?
Good afternoon, everyone. As Tiamo has introduced me, I'm Vuako Khosa. And congratulations, first of all, to UCT for making it, for making 3 finalists into the nationals. I was really excited last year when we made it to the finals. So it's really exciting that some of this year's candidates as well made it to the finals. So congratulations on that, and all the best for the finalists. And I'm Vuako Khosa. I just recently graduated from UCT last year, and I graduated with a PG diploma in accounting, and that is what I specialize in. Currently, I'm an academic trainee at CA Connect. At the same time, I'm still running a startup, which we started last year in my final year. So it's been a busy 2 years so far with the startup. But what we specialize in is shoe laundry and laundry subscription now. So we just simply wash shoes for customers, gyms, and anyone who is wearing sneakers, wearing shoes, wearing heels, any type of shoe. We take care of that. We renew it to its best condition again, so anyone can wear it and enjoy their shoes again. So we opened the shoe laundry because we wanted to create employment for other young people, understanding the unemployment rate in South Africa is very high, and our target market were vulnerable groups in South Africa, mainly people in conflict with the law or other youth who are in vulnerable positions. And since then, we have now extended our service offering to include subscription laundry, which is mainly for young professionals, students, or anyone who doesn't have time to be doing laundry over the weekend, during the week, or anytime. So yeah, that is just what we do. It's all about shoes and keeping everyone clean clothes-wise.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I can always testify for Vuako, and my shoes miss your service. But you guys are telling me what you're doing, your innovation, fantastic. But the point that you missed is how, given everything, how are you feeling? How are you? With everything going around the universe, how are you?
Okay, I thought Vere first. So I think it was overwhelming at some point, being indoors, not knowing what will happen next. But over the course of the months, I've learned to adapt, and the business as well has managed to succeed through that. We are open again fully now and getting into other contracts and marketing effectively. So personally, I think I'm recovering as well from the lockdown, and I'm glad that we are at this point now, given what happened in April.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess on my side, how I am is that I guess as an entrepreneur, you learn how to pivot or persevere, like Matrix vibes. You're constantly doing this, move. And so for me, what I actually did as soon as lockdown happened is I was like, this is perfect. Now I have access to everyone across the world through Zoom. And so I set up calls with people in the UK and Berlin and Switzerland and Greece. I just went all out. I went rogue because now you can't have an excuse and say I'm too busy because it's just like a Zoom call away. And so we've actually gotten more projects in lockdown than I foresaw that we would get this year. And we actually signed a lot more contracts. And we're opening an office in Berlin. So like all of this has been happening during lockdown. And it really is just because, now's the time to go rogue. If you weren't rogue before, now's the time to go a little, because what's there to lose? I mean, we've almost all lost everything anyway. So it's almost like a time to really be honest about your business model. It's a bit of a probably bad advice, but all in context. But that's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling like, you know what, we made it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Vere. And now for Lungile. Hi, Lungi.
Hello.
How are you?
I think Vere said it perfectly. I feel like I'm in an episode of The Matrix, literally. I'm still a student. I'm not a graduate yet, so that balance between academics and business and my personal life is literally an episode of The Matrix. So hello to everyone, and thank you to Nadia for allowing me to be a part of this amazing panel. My name is Lungile Macuacua, and I am the co-founder of LabB, which focuses on bridging the resource discrepancies that exist in the South African basic education sector. So what we do is that we provide online simulation software for physical sciences, chemistry, and biology, so that all learners, regardless of whether it's a learner from an less resource school in a township or in a rural area to learn in a more developed setting, we help all learners in STEM have the opportunity to experience the practical side of science without being actually in the physical laboratory. So I'm also the current Enactus UCT president and Alan Gray Candidate Fellow and an Africa Innovation Fellowship Fellow. So being a part of these organizations has really helped me to structure, or rather to explore what my passions are, and to make sure that my entrepreneurial journey is in alignment with those passions. And that's mainly in how do we create equal access to opportunities in STEM fields, so that's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And I'm very passionate about purpose-driven leadership and the creation of hopefully a circular economy in the African markets.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Jungi. Okay, can we hear from Gokul? I want to make sure that I'm pronouncing everybody's name correctly. So if I'm pronouncing anybody's name wrong, check me immediately, right?
No, Gokul is perfect. A lot of people call me Goku because of Dragon Ball Z. So they just drop the L and just call me Kamehameha or something like that, depending on how close they are. So my name is Gokul, and in 2013, that's when I graduated doing mechanical engineering. So really excited other mechanical engineers here. And I don't know, Alison, if you remember me, but I was in your class in 2012. I think you taught me how to present, etc. So really excited to see you. And then I continued at UCT, did my master's and graduated in 2017. And I think what's interesting about our startup is that we started from the academic kind of space. We developed this medical technology as part of my master's, the adrenaline autoinjector. It's basically a reloadable adrenaline autoinjector used for the treatment of anaphylaxis. So we found that most patients can't afford the standard treatment for anaphylaxis, which is a adrenaline autoinjector. The devices cost more than 1,800 Rand in South Africa, $650 US in the States. So, we realized that this was a problem, and that was one part of them to develop something. And we realized that, like many projects that are cool at UCT, it would probably die in the lab. It doesn't kind of take that step, take weight, and those big worries. Me and Giancarlo speaking next, we were like, we need to do something about this. We need to make sure that what we develop within the university space as research needs to take wings and fly and make an impact. We started an impulse and started working on kind of various medical devices to make that impact. So that's my background. That's what I'm doing. And in terms of how I'm doing, to be honest, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on, and I feel like I'm juggling 100 balls and I have one hand. So that's how I'm feeling right now, kind of overwhelmed. But still, the trick is to stay grounded at all times. And yeah, I think I'm trying my best to keep grounded and keep going.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can we hear from Giancarlo? Hi. Wait, can you please unmute? Can you please unmute, yes? No, just unmute, please. Still no.
Giancarlo, I think maybe you have to come in and out again. I think that might be the problem. Do you want to try and rejoin us, please? Thank you. Shimano, if you want to continue, it will be fine. Okay, you can join us afterwards. Thank you.
Okay. Well, please let me know once he joins in. Peace, Nadia. Okay, with Okay, we can continue, but I'd feel very horrible if I'd have to continue but not hear from my absolute favorite human being. Hi, Alison. How are you? Can you also please unmute yourself for us, please? Yes, can you please kindly unmute? Yes, there we go. There we go.
Very, very good to see all the familiar faces again and to see some new people, and very nice to have, I spotted you, Gokul, and I thought, aha, I remember that name from a long time ago. So it's a really wonderful community to have been a part of, and to see people using their talents, using what they're gaining from the university, and using creativity to put something new into our national reality. And it's really exciting. So I would encourage all of you out there to become part of this community, to put your efforts in and see where it leads you. You won't regret it, and the skills and resources you'll gain from it will be worth the effort many times over. So, yes.
Thank you so much, Alison. Thank you so much. And thank you for being here and having my back. So if anything goes in a different direction, I know you have my back. Thank you so much. So I would like us to dive right into the panel discussion, right? For the purpose, I would love to ask everybody a question, right? So everybody's going to get a chance to answer, but I would love everybody to answer every single question. But for the purposes of time, we unfortunately cannot, right? So I'll pose a question and we'll go say, oh wait, no. Hi, yes, I noticed that Giancarlo's back. Yes. Hi, how are you?
Uh-oh.
I think we're still having the sound issue in regards to the mute, to your mute button. Yes.
Can you try another, maybe your phone or something like that? Maybe Nadia can, send your link to another medium.
Yes, because we would love to hear from you, definitely.
Otherwise, your partner is going to have to stand in. Your partner may have to stand in for you, which is what partners do.
Okay, let's go into our panel discussion, right? So COVID-19 has really changed the face of so many things and how so many things are operating at this point, right? So and our government has also made like decisions that have great potential impacts on the youth and young entrepreneurs, right? So what do you feel? What do you think is the future of business in Africa? And how do you think the pandemic has affected how we view mainstream employment at this current time? I think I would like to hear from Vere, and then we can hear from Vuako and Lungile on this one. What do you think?
That's such a difficult question as the first question, but that's amazing. So I think what I would just say is that as Africa, we've always been very resourceful. So even when we had limited resources, we've always been incredibly innovative. I honestly feel like entrepreneurship just runs in the spirit of like us as an African culture and as an African continent. So people born on the African continent, irrespective of race. I just honestly think that we've always been very resourceful. So I think what the coronavirus did, or what the pandemic did, is it actually started to get people to ask themselves difficult questions. If one's business model was already not that secure before coronavirus and before the pandemic, it was exposed during the pandemic. And you almost would see a lot of businesses either had to pivot or they had to persevere, or some of the businesses completely crumbled, specifically those that were dependent on, other people and physical meeting with other people, like those kind of things. And I think that what it did show us is the power of doing a digital transformation. So we had to really speed up a digital transformation for all businesses. It also showed us the power of a collective. So when you focus on your core business, someone else focuses on their core businesses. Instead of doing everything yourself, you really now pull on everyone's strength. And as a collective, you continue to maintain your profitability. And I think it also just really showed us just the fact that at the end of the day, we're doing business for humanity. Like we're doing it for other people. I think I've never seen so many businesses bail each other out. With the limited resources they would have, they would bail each other out and really like put in and really cheer and champion each other on. And I think that it's good because I think sometimes we get lost in the idea of consumerism and, you know, profit at all costs. And I think for once we all took a step back and said, we're all in this together. How do we change that? So practically, I think it was a digital transformation that really happened. And if a business was unable to go digital, that's the businesses that really suffered. And so that's just the note to have in general is how can you digitally transform your business? Yeah. And then from the softer side was kind of understanding that we're all in this together as an economy. And it's really about us being collective and innovative and creative in how we're solving some of the greatest challenges that our country faces. So I do think the future for business in Africa is going to, it only can get better from here because we've been refined now. We've really gone through the fire. And I think it can only get better from here in terms of a lean business model. That's kind of my take on it.
Very interesting point. Very interesting points were made there. Lungile?
Quickly, I mean, I think I have to completely agree with what Vere just mentioned about it's not only the monetary, but also the soft skills or the soft attributes of actually conducting business. And I think, of course, the question itself is layered and is dependent on the business sector in question. However, I think that the future of business in Africa would be structured more towards autonomy. So this is primarily because now individuals have had to really be very careful of which service they use or which product they use. So now it's literally driven by increasingly critical and knowledgeable consumers who expect zero latency service and delivery. So I think this concept just highlights the fact that organizations really or businesses really need to look at how do we organize work instead of how do we organize people. I think the pandemic has really been an invitation to entrepreneurs to never let a good crisis go to waste, right? Furthermore, I think it has really placed an emphasis on how we view who or what is essential in employment. I think that there's no longer a mainstream, like it's no longer linear. So you can't expect to provide linear solutions to an ever dynamic world. So you have to adapt, you have to constantly modify. And I think that's what the pandemic has done. Now you just have to modify, but not lose what your massive transformative purpose is. So modify with your why in mind. Yeah.
I hope everybody at home is taking notes what's being said, not only by Lungile and Vere. Like you guys are raising some very phenomenal points, right? So I would like us to head on to Vuako. What's your take?
I totally agree with Lungile and Vere. The pandemic has literally caused us to rethink about business itself, moving from more of a traditional based office, having to manage people, as Lungile said, having to look at employment as just work that you do in the office. But it has caused us to think, I think from my side, mainly outside of just being an employee, but to create meaningful work for yourself as well. I had so many people starting their own little businesses of doing masks, creating sanitizers, all those little developments, others starting online stores, others pivoting their companies significantly. So I think South Africa has its great market and emerging market, and we have resources to make sure that entrepreneurship thrives, to make sure that incoming and existing businesses thrive. We already have established that we do have capacity to even have online infrastructures, especially in South Africa, and other companies as well will hopefully jump onto that because this pandemic has been a wake-up call for almost everyone. And I think it has also created a great atmosphere for entrepreneurship to thrive. Everyone was looking for efficiency. Everyone is looking for good quality products. So yes, it does increase competition, but I think it also triggered entrepreneurial skills in other people who were not in that space, because they were more forced, I can say, into being entrepreneurs or thinking on ways to survive, or thinking on ways to how do they make work meaningful, and how do they make their lives meaningful, how do they make their careers more than just a job. So I think the pandemic was a good wake-up call, and it was a way for Africa to also wake up and realize it has its own problems, but the solutions are also embedded in us.
Yeah, very true. They embedded in us, right? So I see Giancarlo has joined us, right? Are we good on the sound?
I hope so. Can everyone hear me?
There we go. Yes. How are you? We're gonna have to jump back to the first question, where we're going to introduce yourself and let you know how you're feeling, and then we're gonna move on to our next question on the panel. Is that okay?
100%. Sorry about that, everyone. But thank you so much for the opportunity, and very inspirational to essentially meet entrepreneurs such as yourselves doing some incredible work. So my name is Giancarlo Biakis. I graduated from UCT in 2017. I did my master's in biomedical engineering. That's essentially where my partner Gokul and I met, and that's essentially where the company sprung from or spun up from. I think our company is really about medical devices and essentially making healthcare and healthcare technologies accessible through making it more affordable for essentially all. I think we sort of came from, or we sort of took inspiration from experiences and sort of what life has thrown at us. And we basically said to ourselves that we want to make sure that no one goes without the necessary healthcare that they need. So that really is the inspiration behind our technologies. And in terms of COVID and how we're feeling, etc., I think we're excited for what the future holds. Obviously, it's been a tough journey for many of us, and I think it's been said, it's been an eye opener for many companies and for many businesses and a lot of people. But I think there's a lot of opportunity, and it's about capitalizing on that, really. But very excited, and it's all about building up from here, right? So yeah.
Thank you so much, right? So for our next question, and I love the fact that you guys are partners and you're sitting together, right? So I'd like to pose this question to both of you. Has there been often people say entrepreneurs should fail fast and or forward, right? So is there something that either of you separately or even together have attempted that failed, and what did you take from that experience?
Yeah, I definitely agree. So our business in particular is in medical devices, so there's a lot of regulatory hurdles and so on involved. And essentially, for us, it's not necessarily fail quick, but it's about testing. So test your solutions as quickly as possible. If you have an idea and you think, okay, cool, I'm not sure if it's going to work, I'm not sure if the customer is going to enjoy it or like it or appreciate it or get value from the product, go out and test it. Go out and speak to people. Don't be shy. Don't be scared. I think the only thing holding you back is going to be yourself. For us, again, because we're in the regulatory space, we think that we need certain sort of stamps of approval from regulatory bodies to go and test products, but we really don't. You want to make sure that the look and feel is something that the customer, the patient, or the user is going to like. Go out and test it. Put together a sort of we call it a proof of principle. So it's not a proof of concept yet, but it's just an idea. It's something on a piece of paper. Draw it. Find pictures, put it together, and just go ask people. Because the quicker you get user feedback, the quicker you get customer feedback, it's going to make a massive difference, because you're going to spend so much time, so much effort, and so much resources on developing a solution that you think is fantastic. But at the end of the day, the customer or the end user is actually going to look at this and say, I don't really know what to do with this. For us, one of our technologies has animated characters for kids to combat stigma when it comes to asthma. And when you give a specific type of character to a child, they might, they might not like it. It might look a little bit scary, but to us it looks super cool. It looks like Iron Man or Darth Vader, etc. But they might not like that. So user feedback is critical. So always test, and in that way fail fast so that you can reiterate. That would be my 2 cents. Both.
Thank you.
I think in terms of failing, we have failed basically every single year. We've failed in different ways, and I think what's been good is that, and I think that's a good thing about having business partners, that you're able to pick up on that and build each other up and then keep going forward. Because in 2017, our challenges were that we were seen as kind of these engineers who have no idea what business looks like. So we failed in the sense that people didn't trust what we were doing. We were like, well, what do you know about markets? What do you know about valuation? What do you know about putting a DCF together or financial model together? And then we proved them wrong. We're like, okay, let's pick this up, let's learn this. In 2018, our issues were around pitching, presenting, getting our ideas across. We weren't quite getting it right. And in time, we started practicing and pitching. And then we started pitching all around the world, from China, Germany, London, business school, everywhere. So we started learning how to do that more and more, better and better. In 2019, our issues were around finances. Again, these are all these failures that we've learned from. In 2019, we had issues around funding. And there again, we started really pushing so hard on getting all the funders we could get, emailing them, WhatsApping them, doing everything we could. And in 2020, we finally got the result of that, which is we finally have funding, we have a team, we have an office, and things are progressing. So all those failures, and I mean this year as well, we will probably fail in so many ways. Our product development, a lot of the regulatory stuff that Giancarlo mentioned, will be part of the failures that we hope to mitigate, but it will most likely be an issue. And maybe next year, if you interview us, we'll say, oof, that regulatory stuff hit us quite badly. But we hopefully we can say we picked ourselves back up again. We kept pushing forward. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I want to know from Vere, right? You've made progress from what we've seen with your resume. You've made a lot of progress. You've gone far in your journey thus far, but what are some mistakes that you wish you could have avoided?
You know what? I completely agree with Giancarlo and Gokul. I'm trying my best to pronounce it. But like, you will fail all the time when it comes to being an entrepreneur. So like every year you fail. I remember losing about 200,000 Rand in cash. Like that's how much we failed. And every year you fail. And honestly, if you're unable to really stop and be self-aware about why you failed and what the problem was, or the customer didn't like it, why they didn't like it, if you're not one of those people who is almost, if you center yourself, then you're going to hate failing, because like it happens all the time if you're an entrepreneur. Nothing worth having is going to happen without you failing at some point. But yeah, so in terms of the mistakes that I made, I think the biggest mistake that I made is very similar to what they said, in terms of I took long to test my product in the market. So a lot of the times as entrepreneurs, we're waiting for the perfect business plan. And so we sit and we like, we create this entire lean business model canvas, and we go into the details of it, and we've got this fictional, customer, and then we go into market and it's a flop. No one cares. People are like, I'm not going to pay for this product. It's not what I wanted. And it's such a waste of time, because time is a resource as much as money is a resource. And so what I would say is that I've had many ideas I've sat on, but then one year I just woke up and I was like, you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to do it. And the moment I started to just throw my ideas out there, take it to clients, be like, listen, what do you think? Do you think this is going to work? Do you like it? Do you hate it? The moment I did that, that's actually what happened this year. This is the year that I've been as rogue as it gets. Before, I'm very perfectionist, but now I was like, you know what? If I don't take something out to market, then what's the point? And so I'd say that's one of the biggest mistakes. And then the second mistake is really just, I think a lot of people go out into market and they say, I'm looking for financing for my business, which is fair, but you also have to show that you have market traction. Because everyone thinks the idea is perfect. It's this founder syndrome. You think that your idea is perfect. And so it really is, if you can show some form of market traction, you will get a lot more buy-in. Look, there's a whole list of mistakes. I think you could have a session just talking about mistakes that all entrepreneurs have done. But I think the biggest mistakes for me was definitely that. So in terms of just the product, and then also in terms of team, don't make the mistake of hiring a friend or partnering with a friend because they're your friend. Because the moment you scale is the moment you're going to see where the differences are. And you don't want that, and you don't want your clients to be exposed to that. So the most of the time, the problems really lie with products and what you're doing and your services, and also with team. I think other stuff can be resolved, but it's those two things that is a constant juggle, and also obviously has an impact on your finance. So I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if I did that question justice. I think the other entrepreneurs probably have more answers to that.
You did.
But lots.
You did. So I would like to know, but yeah, that's a wonderful point also. We're being rogue this year. We're being rogue, right? So from Vuako, I would like to know, you've also made some progress, right, with your business. What do you wish you knew when you started?
I think one thing that I wish I knew is that business is gonna take a lot of time from your personal life. It's a commitment. You need to have passion for it, and you need to put in the hours, and you need to be able to be humble in the process. So I wish I had known that it's gonna be requiring of so much of me, and I would need to put certain things down and just make sure that I make this work and I make it happen. So I think most of the time we just look at entrepreneurship or founding a business as in a glamour thing to do. After you register a company, you're so excited, you tell people about it. But when you actually have to put in the work and you actually have to stop everything to make sure that it happens, it becomes a bit of a challenge. So I wish I had sat with more entrepreneurs and they told me the truth that, you know what, it's all good when you're introducing yourself or when you're invited or when you're actually pitching the business, but the background of the work is actually what matters the most. As Vere said, the product itself, the team, everything that happens in the background of the business more than the product itself is what actually you as an entrepreneur have to do.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I would like to pose a question to Lungile, right? So myself and you, we were in the ideation category, right? In the IDA category. And I want to know, we're very fond of this category because it's our category. And there might, and there'll be viewers at home who are possibly also entering like maybe like next year or also maybe doing their own businesses. And I think maybe this question will be vital. And I want to pose it to you. And if anybody else feels like they also have a burning answer to this question, you can feel free to chip in, but also quite briefly, right? So my question to you, Lungile, as somebody like in the idea category, right? Let's say, okay, you've sat down, you've scrabbled ideas down, you've gone through life with like a variety of ideas, right? When do you know that this is the idea? This is the one that I'm going to pursue?
Honest answer, you don't know. I think it was Gokul who said it perfectly. You don't know until you actually get out and you test whether it is a viable idea. And that's something that entrepreneurs need to get on the bandwagon with. I think personally, I've realized that there are different types of entrepreneurs, and I definitely identify as the innovator, as the ideator. You give me a problem, probably stems from the fact that I'm a chemical engineering student, so I'm always thrusted with, you need to solve a problem to do that. Yeah. So I think I'm relatively good at that. But another thing is you can't spend an extensive amount of time focusing on your idea and not actually testing it out in market. And I think one key lesson that I have, if you are looking at moving from ideation and actually prototyping and getting some customer feedback, is don't spend a whole lot of money on a prototype. I think Gokul just mentioned that you can draw it on paper. And right now, I think social media really has a lot of power. You can literally just do a simple, like for what I did personally for LabV, is that a simple simulation online, then I just posted it, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, get as much feedback as you can possibly get from a customer, because you can do extensive research. And this is what I did personally. I went onto Google and I said, okay, this is a problem that customers are facing. And I looked at the stats and I did that. That's sufficient. That's okay, but it's not enough. And that's one thing that you need. Like you can do as much research, but the ultimate research is how human beings are going to relate to the solution that you are presenting to them. So that's the ultimate research, actually getting out there and actually finding out, oh, well, I thought I was just creating a simulation. Don't all schools have computer labs? And that's the mistake that I made. I'm like, I'm creating software simulating a laboratory for schools that don't have a laboratory, what are the chances of them actually even having a computer facility to use that software? You see, you make certain assumptions when you are testing out an idea, but the best thing that you can probably do is to do your assumptions testing by having a model out there, and it can be really simple. Don't spend a lot of money on a prototype. It really is not necessary, especially in these times where you have social media, where you can literally create a simulation of what you want and just show it to potential customers or a potential investor. So I would say that don't spend too much time on ideation.
Mm-hmm. I feel like you're dragging me. I feel dragged.
I'm dragging everyone I'm especially dragging everyone who's sitting with the idea.
And it's true, especially on the prototype point. I think that's where I made like my big mistake. So what you're saying is I'm a living testimony. What you're saying is very true. So I'd like to know from, okay, I think this question can go around, right? What was the tipping point for your business? We can start with Vere, and then we can take it to our fellow partners, and then Lungile, and then Vuako.
Oh my gosh, I always have to start. Okay, so I'm going to start. Look, listen, Lungile dragged all of us. Like ideas, guys, ideas get stuck in your head. Most entrepreneurs are perfectionists. Most of us want it to be absolutely perfect when it goes into market. It's not about perfection. Like perfection is a journey. It's not a destination. My tipping point that I would say would be, you know what? A lot of the times there is a lot of unseen when it comes to entrepreneurship. Like there is the the long hours, the long nights, the poverty that comes with entrepreneurship. So I was an engineer. I was working. I was getting a salary. Everything was good. Then I resigned. I had 3 months salary, a car, and a LinkedIn profile. That's all I had. I only gave myself 3 months to make my business work. My business didn't work in 3 months. It worked in 12. And so that means that I dragged myself through the last 9 months where your family is going to come to you and they're going to say, why don't you just submit your CV? Come on, like this is not a good idea. What's going on? But it's in that moment, it's that hard, it's that unseen, those dark like times when no one knows you, but you are very convicted about why you're an entrepreneur. Yes. It's in that moment where my tipping point came 12 months afterwards. After all of the hustle, literally I had my car have no petrol on the highway. I got stuck on the highway at least 3 times in the year of my entrepreneurship. And it was in the month 12 where we finally got a multi-million rand contract. And I was like, that's it. This is what became. And so I really think that the tipping point for me was, it wasn't so much the contract, it was the journey to the contract. Because from there onwards, I've always had the resilience to say, okay, everything is seasonal. Now your business might not do so well, so figure it out, pivot, persevere, like figure it out. We keep saying that it actually comes from The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. If anyone hasn't read that book, like read it. But just keep on figuring out, if you know the problem that you're trying to solve and you know that your entrepreneurship solution is an answer to that problem or that subset of that problem, because we can't all change the world, but we can change the parts that we're really good at and what we're really like specializing in, then continue with it. So it really was that mindset shift to be like, it's not glamorous. And then only after that, all these other awards and everything else start coming, and it just kept on going from there. So it really was, that was the tipping point. When I realized, you know what, it can be done. It's a journey. It's not a destination. You don't arrive as an entrepreneur.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Our partners. And is one going to answer, or is both of you going to answer?
One person, yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
I think that was really powerful and sort of sounds like our story in a way as well. I mean, there was again, it just speaks to what entrepreneurship is. But there was a point where Gokul and I weren't earning any sort of income for months at a time. It was a very difficult period for us. And I think during that period, there were 2 tipping points for us. The first one was during our user interactions or our customer interactions, we went into Red Cross Hospital and we started to interview patients essentially around our technologies. And again, we were struggling, we were sort of deflated. We didn't have, we didn't have capital to pay any of our team members or anything like that. So it was really a difficult time. And in walks a little girl with her mom, right? Cutest kid of life. And she sits down and we essentially give her a standard asthma pump. And she tries to use it, and obviously, or not obviously, but she wasn't able to do so. And this is one of the issues that we're trying to address with one of our solutions. And we hand her the easy squeezy, which is essentially our technology. And she goes about essentially activating the device, and her face lights up. Her mom's excited, like the whole room was just like super hyped. And in that moment, Gokul and I looked at each other, and it was sort of a moment of, we didn't have to say it, but it was like, this is why it's worth it. This is why we do what we do, because it's that smile that makes everything else fade away and everything worthwhile. So that really was a big, big tipping moment for us. The second one was sort of leading on to this. A couple of months later, we're trying to raise investment. And again, we're struggling, no income. And when entrepreneurs aren't, or don't have capital, don't have income, you don't have something to pay your bills on a monthly basis, there's a feeling of desperation that sort of kicks in to a certain extent. And we're sitting in a room with very powerful people, with investors effectively. And we were essentially given a deal and put on the table. And through this experience, we learned that it is okay to say no. Sometimes you need to listen to your gut, you need to listen to your heart, and you need to say no, even though you really need it. And you can always turn the situation around as well. So again, we were struggling, we said no to investment, but we used that to our advantage. And we actually went to the next investor who we thought really fits our company culture a lot better. And we said, we turned down that investor. So, it's a great opportunity to invest in us. And, I'm putting it very bluntly, but obviously through negotiations, discussions, etc., it panned out at the end of the day. So you can always turn a difficult situation into a positive one. You just sometimes need to rethink it, need to sort of, change it up a little bit, and you can always get something positive out of the situation. It's a metaphor or quote that we use quite often is, don't be sad that rose bushes have thorns, but rejoice that thorn bushes have roses, right? So you can always turn a situation into a positive one.
Yes, great.
Yeah.
Vuako, are you still with us? Vuako, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I went a bit off. My network is not the best.
In and out. Okay. So I think because Lungile's answers triggered while this current conversation happening right here, I think we're just going to go straight to you. What was the tipping point for your business?
Oh, sorry. Like my network is going on and off, but now I'm back. I think the tipping point for our business was when we were almost at a point of shutting down, because as a startup, we did not have enough capital to continue. I had just graduated, and my co-founder has also just graduated, so we didn't have money to actually continue paying for other expenses of the business. So what happened is last year, when our business was about 2 months old, we started with the EDHE with UCT, entered a competition to make sure that we get funding. And that moment we got exposure, we got customers, and thereafter we got access to other competitions that were in the market. We entered them as well. The aim was to, of course, get capital because we could not afford a bank loan with students. But those did not pay out in financial means. However, we got a lot of exposure, and that is how we gained traction, and that is how we got more customers. But we still needed capital. Although we had the exposure, we still needed capital because the sales were paying for the operational side, but not for overall costs. And when this year the pandemic started, we realized, you know what, let's just close this thing, because customers, we deal with real shoes, we deal with real customers, so we can't move. So that means that there's no income. However, one of our competitions from last year paid off. The Baila World competition, we were part of the top 2 out of 30 social enterprises in South Africa. It gave us capital for us to continue, and that is how we managed to rise back and grow again into the business that we wanted to be. So in that season, it helped us to mainly just refocus, restructure, size down to say, what actually do you want to focus on? And it gave birth to a lot of ideas because we had confidence that it's more than just about us. Someone sees potential. Someone sees that this can actually help a lot of other young people. So I can say being funded was a tipping point for our company, which was just about 9 months old in that time. So yeah.
Great, fantastic. I just want to hear from Nadia quickly. Nadia, how are we doing for time?
We're doing well. If we can start maybe answer. We've got 2 or 3 questions there that people would like to have answers to. If you'd like to just take it out of the panel. Alison, would you like to help out with that, please?
Yes,
Thanks.
please. Alison, can we take it through to the Q&A session? Alison, can you quickly? Yes, your sound.
Sorry, I'm just looking for the questions. I've got the chat, but I'm not seeing the questions.
Okay, let me go for the first one in the meantime. Vere, this question is set for you. So South Africa has a power generation problem which will deter future growth as innovation technologies at scale will be power intensive. That is blockchain technology. Utilizes 40% of the world's power. So how do we solve the generation, storage and distribution at scale from a private sector point of view, being part of an IPP? Vere, if you could answer that question, please.
Okay, cool. I definitely will. It's a bit of a technical question, so I'm going to not spend too much time in it per se. But what I would say is that it all comes down to actually defining the problem. So South Africa doesn't have a power generation problem. We have a power policy problem. So we can generate as much solar as we need. I mean, we've got one of the highest solar radiations in the world in terms of the ability to create and generate renewable energy. But it's the policies that don't necessarily allow anyone to just become an IPP if you're generating more than a certain megawatt. So what I would say is that what we're constantly asking for as climate change activists and as green building consultants is to ask for us to be allowed to almost decentralize a lot of the power generation that we can do, so that every household, every commercial client, every data center can actually look into their own renewable energy plus battery. Because if you're going to do something like data centers and that's going to be 24/7, you always need backup power. We're always talking about an energy mix. So I don't know if that answers the question, but the main thing is just to say that we do have a power policy in terms of we're not able to do an energy mix that is sufficient. And the question and why I love entrepreneurship and why I love what I'm doing and why I love even hearing the stories of all these engineers on this panel. I don't know how this happened, but it's really seeing that every person can really solve the problem, because power policy takes politicians, it takes people who did humanities, people who did engineering, people who did commerce, to be able to say what happens if we now change the power, like how municipalities get revenue. So it's those kind of things. We all are in it together to try solve this problem, but it can be done. It's just that we all need to really collectively come in and say, how do we solve the energy crisis full stop in South Africa at the moment? So that's the answer to that, is it can be done. We just need to figure it out collectively.
Okay, thank you so much, Vere. Would you like to pose our next question to the panel?
Okay, so the next question would be, would you say that COVID-19 has paved a way to rethink business models and adapting to different situations? And this is not for anybody in particular, so if anybody else would like to answer, that'd be great. And then to the previous question, if somebody else wants to add to it, that would also be fine. Thanks.
Yeah. So to repeat the question, And the question was not posed to anybody specific in the panel. The question said, would you say that COVID-19 has paved a way to rethink business models and adapting to different situations? So anyone who would like to jump for this question. No.
I think Gokul
Can I
is ready to
say
answer.
something? Can I say something?
Yes, you can.
So I'd just like to say as far as COVID, what I've seen is it's changed the way we talk about things. Instead of problems being problems, we've suddenly situated ourselves as a nation as how can we solve them? How can we be part of the solution? We've got much more sense of agency, and that's really exciting. But what I've also liked listening to is the sense that in solving these problems, there's this risk, this personal risk, which each one of you have had to deal with. And that needs to be negotiated. And this is where I always like to encourage you as community to go through it. So we've got 100 people listening, part of the new community, where you invest your time, but also your money is part of the solution. So we need to support entrepreneurial businesses which are making a difference, which are the solutions that we want in South Africa. So that is each one of ours responsibility as entrepreneurs, but also as perhaps aspirant entrepreneurs. We can be supporting it, looking out and talking about initiatives as wins, as positive, in a positive way, rather than, South Africa's messing up the energy problem. Look where we're actually getting it right, and take people with you in the way where whether it's energy, whether it's shoe laundry, rehabilitating ex-prisoners, whatever that solution is, taking others with you and being active in that. So I think, that's really something I wanted to say. And then the other thing is, I know, Nadia, you're going to be wanting to draw attention to it, but in all the talk about prototyping, we do get attached to our ideas. Nadia is going to be telling us about the design thinking workshop. And for aspirant entrepreneurs, if you haven't done a design thinking workshop, take that opportunity. Nadia will be letting you know when it's on, just to think differently, to think quick solutions, testing solution. What do people think? Instead of being attached to an idea and not being prepared to share it. I was also listening the way Lungile, it's in the sharing of your ideas, trusting other people's. It's not my idea that I keep to myself. That's not going to build you anything. It's my idea that I'm sharing and it grows in community. I think that's really an important thing. I've had some entrepreneurs say, oh, no, but surely we shouldn't share this idea. Maybe someone else will steal it. It's not the idea, it's you and the community you create which makes it a success. So risk that and see it happen. So that's some of the things I was wanting to just share from having listened to you all. So back to you, Tiamo.
Thank you, Alison. Thank you so much, Alison. Would you like to pose the next question or should I just jump to it?
Can I say something? I'm sorry, I hate that I'm going to be that panelist, but I completely agree with Alison, because people are always it's their idea, it's going to get stolen. At the end of the day, people do business with people. So if you build a good relationship with your potential market and your customer base, and you get that market traction, people do business with people. At any moment, Google can come and probably replicate half of our ideas here. But it's really about it's always been customer-centric and human-centric, and being really into that. So I just love that. I love hearing that, because I wish that I had known that when I started my business.
No,
I think I would definitely like to add on to what Alison and Vere just mentioned in terms of the fear that someone is going to steal your idea. And that technically happens with ideas that are not even that great. I'm sorry to say, that are not even that amazing to steal in the first place. And I think another key thing that entrepreneurs need to bear in mind is that there are certain things called barriers to entry. So how you structure your business in such a way that there's there's no way that someone else is gonna potentially steal your idea because you have your certain barriers to entry. Like I saw someone posted a question about putting it posting your prototype online, like I had mentioned before. You can structure it, like in my case, if it's software, you can show how the software works essentially, but not how to completely recreate the entire software package. So it's just showing your clients or your customers how to interact with that, but you're not really showing them the nitty-gritties of the entire makeup of your business. So there are barriers of entry, and you can use them very wisely in terms of structuring how your business moves forward. I think it's in a book called Exponential Organizations, and it touches on that a bit.
Thank you. And our next question is from a UCT student who says, I started a business before university, and I realized that there are so many things that I don't know. For example, how to open a company, accounting, legal procedures, funding, business plans, taxes. And for example, in Gokul's case, he was faced with medical regulations. So where do we learn these things? Should we prepare or just jump in and learn as we go? And since Gokul was used as an example in this question, we can pose it straight to you.
Before Gokul takes the mic, I just want to say welcome to the first step of being an entrepreneur. Like, very nice to meet you. Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And it's also a bit difficult to fully answer. And the truth is that it's a combination of both. There's a bit of formal education that's involved in it, but a lot of it is also learning on the job. I mean, like we mentioned earlier, we are both engineers, and we didn't quite understand entrepreneurship in the beginning, but we did a course at the Graduate School of Business, and I think the core thing is that we relied on mentorship. So one of the compliments we've received a few times is that we're able to listen to advice when people give it. So when people say, this is what you're doing wrong, we have been able to sit down and be coachable, sit down and listen, okay, why is this person saying it? What does it mean? And how do we learn about this? And then over time, we're like, okay, that's fine. How do we learn from it? We discuss this. And then very quickly, we started reading more and more books. So I think we had a goal of reading a book every 2 weeks, just to get through that. And then we'll have kind of discussions around the book, just so that we're learning on a regular basis. And that's also very critical, because I know Giancarlo, when he comes in, he'll be like, yeah, I just read great things about great things. And then Howard, whoever said this. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting, but what about this? And then I'll read this other book. And then we'll also have discussions around what it means to be an entrepreneur, and including things like Lean Startup, which again is a very critical book. But when you get to a point and after you've raised funding, it's important to learn that you are your steward of your idea, not your job doesn't do everything. There are people that are better than you at doing legal work, accounting work, engineering work, and part of being an entrepreneur is setting up the base and then taking a step back and say, cool, let me get the best engineer to take care of this. Let me get the best lawyers to take care of this. And one of the quotes that I think Giancarlo also mentions quite often is that if you take care of your team takes care of the product. So that's the whole thing, is that in the beginning, you take care of everything yourself, but in time, it is your team that takes care of the product. So you don't have to learn everything, as long as you're able to put that A-team, Avengers team together that can take care of the job.
Thank you so much.
I'd just also like to add to that. One of the greatest things that I came into the business with was I need to have a heart to learn. So at the start, as Gokul has said, you might need to do everything yourself, but as you grow, you might not need to do everything yourself. So your point is you are at the beginning of it. So I think get the skills, learn what you can, and enter competitions that are available or ask for assistance. I mean, UCT is very lucky to have Alison. She helped us so much outside of the competition itself by simply availing herself and just allowing herself to help entrepreneurs and just to consult with her. I mean, now we even talk outside UCT, but that relationship has helped for me to know things that I never thought about, or for me to get exposure on things that we needed to think about and act on, or go read about, or go research about, go refine, and get introduced into different spaces or different thinking modes. So I would say go into the business with a heart to learn, but also take up opportunities that are available for you to learn. And always feel free to also have a partner. A business partner is a very useful resource as well. So you don't have to overload yourself with all the work. I wouldn't have been able to do most of the social aspect of our business because I'm not a humanities student. I'm not a specialist in that. But my business partner is actually has an entrepreneurial spirit and is a social worker as well. So that worked out well for our social enterprise. And I did not have to go deeper into learning about social enterprise. He's my teacher on that. So I would say be open to learning and be open to partnerships and be open to advice and be open to going into the broader space about learning, reading books, consulting, watching YouTube. There is already freely available information online.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Our next question, I feel like our next question has been answered, right, by Lungile. I think Lungile has answered the question. But I think I'm going to pose it just in case somebody has anything briefly to add, right? So the question said, when testing your ideas online, have you feared that the idea might be stolen and before you reach the end of your design, it is already put forward before you, the originator? But I think Lungile has answered. Does anybody else would like to add to it?
Look, I think, yeah, we did answer that, but I think I'm really going to go back to it. So I don't know, I'm probably not going to speak on behalf of all the other engineers, but I know that when I was an engineering student, we learned a lot about technicals, and we walk into boardrooms and it's about being right. And, it's 1 + 1 = 2, it's linear, but it's definitely not a linear system when you walk into boardrooms. It's all about relationships. If it's one thing that I've learned from, having worked at two multinationals, and then I moved and started my own business, a lot of the clients would ask me, they'd say, where are you working now? I'd be like, oh, I'm working in my own business. And they're like, cool, come, we're going to send a project to you. So it really is about building relationships. It really comes down to that. If you can really build good relationships with your customers, with your suppliers, with your potential market, with your investors, with everyone, even the receptionist. I got a project from a receptionist who was tasked with Googling and finding someone who could respond to a tender. So it's really building good relationships with every person that you meet, and being kind. I know that that's super soft, but being kind to everyone. There's too many people who walk in a boardroom and gun straight for the managing director. And I'm always like, so you skip the cleaner, skip the receptionist, you skipped everyone to come straight to me as the managing director, then I know your value system and I probably don't want to work with you. You know what I mean? So it's really just really building relationships and being humble about it. But I think that really does solve, because there's no idea that's brand new under the sun. It's all like a modification of something else. And so, yeah, I think that's just from my take on it, is your idea probably will get stolen. So how good are you with your customers and with your market action and the relationships that you've built?
True. Thank you so much, panelists. I think we can wrap up the Q&A session because I'm not seeing any more questions. So I would like us to jump to our last question for the evening. Nadia, we can jump. I would like to also hear from Nadia. Nadia, we can jump to the final question, right?
Yeah, I think there's a last question here. In your opinion, when is the best to make the transition from engineer to an entrepreneur engineer? Anyone can take that, and I think it'd probably be good to have two different views on this. So, yeah, I have anyone on the panel that'd like to take that, please? Who would like to take it?
I can perhaps start, but there's never a right time. I think if I had to go back, I would have started, when I was in varsity already, in undergrad already, in high school already. It's again, I mean, when I was in undergrad, I thought to myself, okay, I know I want to be an entrepreneur. I know I want to make an impact and a difference in people's lives, but I probably need to go get a job, get experience first, and then essentially start my entrepreneurial journey. And essentially, we were about to basically complete our master's degrees, and that's when we made the decision and we said, look, we're going to start now. We're not going to try and find a job, etc. We're just going to go for it. So it's always an interesting conversation when people ask us, okay, so you know, how much capital have you guys actually put into the business? And we smile and we're like, well, we finished varsity and started the business immediately, so zero. But you know, it's always interesting in terms of investors' reactions, but it's because we started so early. And in my personal opinion, if we could have started earlier, we should have, we would have, we could have. And it's, you know, it's something that, you know, yeah, if I could do it over again, I would have started day one type thing. So I don't think there's a right time. I think if you've got a great idea and you've got something you're really passionate about, and I think passion is really key in terms of what you're doing and what you're trying to develop and the impact you're trying to create, then start. Especially in varsity as well, you've got so many students that are potential customers, that are potential users, that you can get some awesome feedback from. You know, start there and build up from there. So, and keep in mind, you've got your lecturers and your professors as well. That is an awesome resource to make use of as well. We still contact lecturers and professors all the time to get some advice, feedback, ideas, etc. So yeah, but again, that's just my personal opinion.
Any opposing opinion from our panelists?
Well, I mean, just for interest sake, I can just add that when we did the the Global Clean Tech Innovation Program, what we found is that we were one of the younger ones in the crew. There were people that were 70-year-old, no, maybe 50 or 60-year-olds starting their own company. And I think that when you're older, you have a greater network and greater, you know, skill set as well. So when you're young, people forgive you for a lot of mistakes, but you don't quite have the skills as well. So it's like a bit of a balancing act. The older you are, the more skill set you have, but the more responsibility you have. So I think we have mentors that have kids, and if they couldn't get an income, then they literally can't feed their kids. Well, in our cases, we don't have a family to take care of, so we do have that. You know, we can rely on that. We don't have to worry about that. But then if you're older, you might have a bit more savings, a bit more money to actually start your own company, and you might be able to, you know, accelerate that process. So there is like benefits to both sides. But personally, I'm obviously with Giancarlo in this case, start young, because you can make those mistakes early on, and then you can gain experience later on. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I think we've reached the end of our Q&A session. And we can close off from our side with a final question, right? And can you answer this question briefly from all our panelists, right? So this is our final question, and this is a metaphor, right? It's not coming from anyone in the audience, it's just like a closing question. If you had to battle a giant, what weapon would you use? It's a metaphor. So if you had to battle a giant, what weapon would you use? So we're going to go, I'm going to take it with my usual order. We're going to go, starting with Vere, to our partners, to Vuako, to Lungile.
Wow, my head hurts from the question itself. My head literally hurts. What weapon would I use? I'm going to just take it back to what I said. The biggest pitfall was product or team. I'm going to just put this as a weapon. It will be in my team. I'd use a team to battle a giant. So I'm going to do a soft weapon, nothing hard, just a team. Anything can be defeated. Literally anything can be defeated. 90% of businesses in Africa are SMEs. That means we're technically battling giants all the time. So yeah, team.
Together we can. Our partner. What weapons would you guys use?
So I mean, I guess sometimes you need to understand why the giant wants to battle you, right? So I think Vere touched on this. It's about kindness. Let's try and understand what the giant wants, and maybe we don't have to battle him or her. We can just work together and achieve a common goal, right? So that's that maybe we don't need to fight. We can just hug the giant and be friends.
You know,
anything from your
it's quite funny. It's quite funny for me, you know, they say great minds think alike, because I literally I literally wrote down, start with why. So I was like, why are we fighting? Why?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense. Let's sit down, have a cup of coffee, and have a chat. Yeah. So yeah, I think when you essentially executing things and you're taking on a giant, always ask why, and why can give you a lot of answers and direction to move forward. So I fully agree. 100%.
I definitely had the same weapon in mind. Definitely. Vuako, from your side, what weapon would you use?
So I think I'll just add a layer so it can apply to my weapon. So I think Gokul has actually laid out a very good point. Start with the why. But I would say, let's say the giant is already visibly a giant, and we have settled it. We are giants. So the giant is a giant, and I'm just in a battle. I think my weapon would be faith. Faith in the battle, that I'll win it, faith in my team, faith in the whole cause of why we are even in the battle, and hoping that I'll win. So it would be more about interpersonally, internally, I have to win this. So it's that zeal to win this against this giant that would keep me battling or keep me going.
Zeal. Yes, we love it. Lungile, what weapon would you use?
I think the partners have already summarized that you definitely have to understand why the giant actually wants to battle. And I think another key thing for me is I would probably take the ability to be anti-fragile versus being resilient, because there's a difference between the two, according to me, because resilience just resists the shock. So it resists the fact that there's definitely a giant in front of me. But anti-fragility, on the other hand, recognizes that there is a giant, but how can I make things better after the shock? So yeah, I would say that.
Very true. Alison, what weapon would you use?
Well, funny enough, I was looking at Vuako, and I was thinking how even something which seems small, like a smile, Vuako, I think that has been not a weapon in a bad way, but it has taken you forward and will continue to take you forward. And it's such a simple thing, which it's again speaks to what you were saying about relationship, but it's the connectivity. It's taking the giant with you, turning it around and going together. So I think that's what I've seen from all of the answers today, the ability to do that, to look in the face of challenges, to turn it around and to go forward. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's everything from my end. This was very lovely, guys. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was very happy to see familiar faces and to be acquainted with new faces. I hope the community grows. Anything from your side, Alison?
No, I just think it's been an amazing year. We've really seen where we've deliberately built community at UCT and possibly beyond. And it's been an amazing thing to be part of and to see it grow and to see it developing traction. And I have no doubt that there will be so many initiatives coming out of this which will build entrepreneurship into the fabric of the way we do things, and entrepreneurship as in a really positive way, where it's a choice that people make, where it's flexible and resilient, and it's very exciting to be part of, and to see students move through the systems. Gokul, you were the earliest student that I've seen on the panel, but there's been many, and it's lovely to know that this, and Vere, that you were at UCT, didn't have me, but you know, you're back feeding into this community. There are so many people who are able to do this and who are willing to do this, and so much to be gained from it. Modeling collaborative community. So yeah, really a privilege. And Nadia, where would we be without you? You've held us all together. So it's been amazing. She's planned, she's done all those bits, and it's come together has been a tremendous achievement, Nadia. So wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Be part of it.
I'd like to hand it over to you, Nadia, for a closing.
Thanks so much. Thank you to the panelists. Thank you so much for joining us. Your stories was very inspirational. You can see from the meeting chat that people is talking about it, and I'm so happy that you could join us. With regards to the university entrepreneurial community, this is growing day by day, and we are very happy to have people like you here to help us along the journey. It's been a long journey. For me, it's been a short journey with UCT, but it's been a very enjoyable journey, and I cannot wait to see where we go from here, and particularly taking the entire university with us on this journey. So thank you very much, and I will definitely call on all of you again to come and talk to our students. To our students out there, please don't give up. The journey is long. It's a good journey. It's an enjoyable journey, and it tells you so much about who you are. I've been an entrepreneur for many, many years, and a heart of an entrepreneur it's such a soul-providing person. So for me, good going. If you put yourself out there, you only create better world for everybody and for yourself. This is the start of our Student Entrepreneurship Week, and for the whole week we'll have events running. Please do go to our website. We're going to put all the links on the side on now where you people can have a look and see what events there is. We've got the Lekgotla coming up where everybody's invited to go. It's an online event over a week, and we'll have great speakers there. Vere is coming back to us again to come and talk on that one. So look forward to having you with us again, Vere. And I might just call on some of you again. But yes, thank you so much. To my director, Brenda Martin, she's in the meeting at the moment. Thank you so much for continuing with our vision and for always supporting us and pushing this forward. We cannot do it without you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Nadia. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Go well.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
There we go.
Lungi, it was nice seeing you. And Tiamo, and Nadia, and Alison. It feels like forever.
We should definitely do coffee.
We should click up. We should hang out.
We should. Eventually, I mean, opportunities are here for us as entrepreneurs, but why are we not using them to connect? Networking.
You know?
Bye. Thank you so much, Nadia.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Thank
Nadia.
you. Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming up.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tiamo. That was a very nice panel leading. So keep it up.
So much. Thank you so much, Vuako. You guys are always phenomenal. Always phenomenal.
Bye, guys. Chat soon. Be well. Tiamo, well done, sweetie. Bye-bye.
So much, Nadia. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye. Thanks, Charmaine. Thanks, ICTS.
Pleasure, Nadia.